So I'm doing a little update on my germination, what's germinated, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about propagation and heat mats. I originally used windowsills and had quite a lot of success on a sunny windowsill germinated plants in propagators that were not electric, so no heat, just a covered propagator. I don't even have one in here, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I've stopped using my windowsills, and the reason being, I've probably said before, they were white and they were just getting destroyed because I was missing with a bit of water and then a little bit of dirt, and they would take ages to clean afterwards, which is just probably me being rubbish and not being careful enough, because I work full time. I've got to get in, rush, and I need to plant this, I need to do that, I need to water this, so many different things. You don't have time to spend meticulously doing everything as neat and tidy as I should have. So that's the reason I stopped doing that, and that was the reason for this greenhouse that I'm sitting in. I did have a propagator that had, like, those unit propagators, which is what my kiwano were planted in. I don't know if you remember. So a propagator, these have heat. I think there's 7 of these, and what I did was plant in these and then transfer them into pots or what have you outdoors. So I did have that, and I used that to germinate initially my tomatoes, and then after tomatoes and peppers, and then after that I used them for my kiwanos, and my kiwanos have stayed in those little propagator trays. So what I was planning to do with this greenhouse was plant in here and use it, and well, expected it to be as successful as my window ledges. There's a lot of sun that gets in here, direct sunlight, but the problem that I've had is probably the temperature in here, which I've tried to control but not with much success. So it's my own fault, really. But what I've had is, because I haven't had the time yet. I showed you this before, I think. There's little gaps at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if you can get a better look at that. Hold on a second. I don't know if you can possibly see. No, you probably can't actually. But you can see right under that. I can fit my hand right under that gap that I've got there. And that's the same in all 4 corners of this greenhouse. But I thought I'd be able to just put a little, to keep my plants alive, I've just put a little portable radiator in here, which has worked in terms of stuff that's already germinated. You can't have it too hot in here, but stuff that's already germinated overnight, I use that to keep this greenhouse warm enough, because we're in beginning of April when it still gets quite cold overnight, too cold for the plants that are in here, I think. So I just take the edge off. I don't heat it as such. Well, I do obviously heat it, but I take the edge off so I don't let it get to, I don't know, 0, 1, whatever degrees it is outside. I'll make sure that that this space is heated, but it can only, it can only heat the space, I guess. And I did actually think the first night, because you have to learn with these things, the first night I thought it was going to be so cold in here that I had this on full heat. And when I came in here in the morning, it was so hot in here. I actually thought I'd killed all of the seeds that I planted. Anyway, back to my update. You'll see what I did plant, and it's been planted for 2 weeks, and you'll see that in here there is absolutely nothing apart from a few more onions that I've planted and my potatoes that are happily chitting away on the top rack. So I think there was 6 trays planted in here, and absolutely nothing germinated, nothing at all. And in the meantime, what I did was, because I'm determined to grow, I've got a whole allotment plot that I need to fill. In the meantime, what I did was I rebought all of the seeds I had, bought a couple of heat mats, replanted everything on those heat mats, and everything germinated within about 2 or 3 days. So that has showed me the power of propagation. One in my propagated I was talking about earlier, which everything that I put on it germinated, and also the heat mats, which have been fantastic. Once I can close up all the holes in here and regulate the temperature properly, I'm pretty sure that I'll have good germination rates in here. I don't have an issue with that, but again, it's only been up a couple of months. I haven't had time to actually do anything to it in terms of closing up those holes and finishing off the beds that I've got in here to plant in. So I've had to unfortunately try and fail at regulating the temperature in here, which next year I'm sure it'll be much more successful. So what I'll do now is I'll show you what my heat mats have done, and I'll also show you, because I've taken everything inside, and I'm going to try and still save everything, and in the hope that it will germinate. Maybe it all will, maybe some of it will, maybe all those seeds that I've planted are gone, but I'm going to give it a go at saving those by using the 2 heat mats that I've bought. And I'm also tempted to buy a couple more, because I'll always, those heat mats, I've got 2, they can just about fit 4 trays on, but they can really only fit 1. So it would help me to have 4 of those. It was only 20 quid for 2. I found a bargain on Amazon, which I might try and find again, because it was a bargain. So I might buy a couple more, and I'm actually tempted, which I know will be a bit of a rash decision, to buy more now, just because what I've got what I've got in terms of the trays that didn't germinate in here doesn't fit on the 2 heat mats that I've got. So we'll see. Right, let's go inside and see what I've done with the bits that were in here. So this is a look at what was started on heat mats, and today's Thursday, and these were planted on Sunday, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. But this is pumpkins and courgettes. There's some more courgettes here. These are butternut squash, I think. I need to label these properly. I've just left. No, these are pumpkins. And these are my melon. And these over here that are struggling a little bit are butternut squash. These are my butternut squash. And the reason, it is a shame, but I guess it's because I've shared some of these planters, but I think these guys are going to do all right actually, eventually. And there's enough there to survive. I only need about 4 or 5 of these, and I guess what you should do is only put 1 crop in each of these little propagator trays, because then you can allow it to germinate as it should. Just to put that on carefully and not take it off too early. And I say that because, something I always do, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I always pinch the seed off just to allow, if if I can, I don't force it off here, just to allow the plant to open its leaves up and photosynthesize. I was saying that after they germinate, you really need to take them off the heat mats, because they're just there for germination. But bearing in mind, these guys have only been planted a few days ago. I'm quite happy with where we are. I'll just get rid of this fellow as well. And then I'll show you the stuff that I've bought inside now. And that's another thing I do. I always just try and, I know we need to sieve our potting mix and all the rest of it, which I pick bits out of it, but if you can see something that's in the way of something that's trying to grow, like this chap here, just move that out of the way, give him a bit of chance. It doesn't hurt to do it. So I'll show you the bits that were outside in the greenhouse, and I've now brought inside. Absolutely nothing had germinated. They're now on the heat mats, and I'll probably buy a couple more of those. I'm toying with the idea of buying some more now, actually, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure whether it's worth the expense, but you'll see what I mean, because I've got too many plants for the amount of heat mats that I've got. These guys, sorry, I don't know if you can see it yet, I've brought in from outside, and they're currently not on the propagator. And nor are these. I brought it from outside, and this is the reason I might buy a couple more. I've got one solitary cucumber germination, which is killing me. But this is where my heat mat is now. The moisture on that. And these are some pumpkins. They don't look great because they've been in the ground for so long, but those things have started to germinate literally a couple of days after I've put them on some heat. Same here with my yellow squash. Put those on some heat and they're starting to germinate. And then come over here. There's not a lot going on. This is my normal propagator, so these aren't really the right size for this. This is the reason why I might buy a couple more heat mats, because look at that, this is corn starting to germinate, but it's been in there so long that mould is starting to grow. But that isn't the end of the world, I don't think. And then if you come over here, this is my other heat mat. And I'll just turn this around because these guys have germinated. This is more corn in here. Again, brought in from outside. Starting to germinate because these are on the mat. And then you've got this guy in the corner, which is not on a heat mat, and there's nothing there. So you can see the pattern. Everything that has had some sort of heat applied to it has germinated inside, and everything, or when I say germinated, has had some success. Yeah, even if it's limited. But the stuff that was outside is it's been a bit of a disaster. I do have a bit of a good problem now, though, in that if these plants start to grow and are healthy, I'll have more than I need, way more than I need. So I'll be using up all the space both here and at my allotment plot, so that's like it's not a bad problem to have. So, probably heard me mention seconds ago, according to you lot, that I might buy a couple more heated propagators, or heat mats, sorry. And the scariest thing about Amazon, and I do, when things are too easy, they worry me a little bit. I don't know why I should be worried. Anyway, that aside, that video I did earlier, or part of the bit that you saw a few seconds ago, was at 10:20 something this morning. It's now 6:25, and the heated propagators are already here. Yeah, that's what I was saying is scary about Amazon. When I went and had a look, they said if you order them now or in the next hour, whatever it is they do to get you to buy stuff, if you order it now, you'll have it by 10 PM, and it's 25 past 6, and they're here. I'll do the packaging. They must have some sort of conveyor belt. You know, like those is it confectionery? Yeah, confectionery machines where the one you want is like A2 or something like that, or E9. You press E9 and then big springs turn and it just falls down the bottom. They must have something like that there, because this is too quick. Right, let's have a. That's the size of the. Did you see the box it came? Anyway, I'm not going to complain. This is actually them, or two of them. It's actually packaged different. The last package was like an oblong box, which I think I might still have, so I'll show you that. And they were rolled up in there, so maybe because they were in a rush to get them to me by 6 this evening, they've packaged them different. They're not rolled up. They're like this, and this is them. Simple as that. There's two of them. And part of the reason I bought them, if I'm honest, is because some of my tomatoes are looking a bit worse for wear, which are probably because my greenhouse is quite small and it's hard to regulate the temperature. You see a few of them are looking a bit tired. And I actually thought at the time, I've planted what I need to plant tomato wise and that's it. But it gets too hot in here for them, and I'm not sure how I regulate that. Of course I've got a couple of windows so I can get the airflow going, but I'm not sure because it's not even hot yet. It's the beginning of April, so I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to regulate that side of things, but I'm sure I'll work it out certainly by next year. So I also bought some tomatoes. Should we do an unboxing of these as well, or enveloping of these as well? So I bought some Alicante tomatoes, which I've definitely grown before, and I'll plant those. And what I was saying was I'm going to put a couple of my propagators, which there's none in here, but a couple of those propagators onto these two heat mats, and then I will repot my kiwano, and then I'll plant my tomato seeds in these and put them on the long heated propagator and use it properly. So that's a job for the morning, and these things are so easy to use. You literally just plug them in and away you go. I don't know, these as I said, they were a bit of a bargain, and they were made in China. Nothing wrong with stuff made in China, but I don't know if I'd leave them on and leave the house for the weekend. I think I'm sure they're fine.